Hey guys, tonight we're taking a deep dive into a case that starts with the shimmering heat haze on a forgotten stretch of American highway and spirals into a federal operation that exposes a crime far more sophisticated than anyone could have imagined. We're talking about a moment where the instinct of a four-legged officer shatters the perfect facade of a phantom. A driver who seems to have no past, driving a car that technically doesn't exist. It's a story about how a single, almost dismissed signal can unravel a conspiracy hidden in plain sight. Honestly, you probably shouldn't be listening to this alone. The quiet details have a way of creeping up on you. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The asphalt on Interstate 40 bleeds into the horizon, a black ribbon cutting through the dusty expanse of the New Mexico desert. It's 2:17 p.m. and the sun is a merciless white disk in the sky. For State Trooper David Miller, this is the slow part of the shift. The heat cooks the ambition right out of the day, leaving a low-grade hum of boredom and the drone of the air conditioner in his patrol car. His K9 partner, a Belgian Malinois named Eris, is a silent furry statue in the back, his head resting on his paws, but his ears are an ever-present radar. Miller sips lukewarm water from a metal flask, his eyes scanning the sparse westbound traffic. Then he sees it, a late-model charcoal gray sedan. Nothing flashy, but it drifts, just for a second, a tire kissing the white line of the shoulder before correcting smoothly. It's not a dangerous swerve, not a drunk's weave, but it's enough. It's the legal justification he needs. This is the bread and butter of highway interdiction, the pretext stop. The Supreme Court gave it a thumbs up years ago in Wen v. United States, affirming that as long as an officer observes a legitimate traffic violation, their underlying motive for the stop doesn't matter. You can have a gut feeling about a car, a hunch that something is off, but you still need that broken tail light, that slight drift to make it stick. He flicks on the lights. The cherry and blues paint the desolate landscape in frantic, silent bursts of color. The sedan pulls over promptly, professionally, without any fuss. Miller watches for a few moments, observing the driver. No frantic movements, no stuffing things under the seat, no furtive glances in the rearview mirror. The driver's hands are already on the steering wheel at 10 and 2. Good sign, or a practiced one. Miller approaches the passenger side, his hand resting casually on his service weapon. The window glides down. The air inside the car is cool, smelling faintly of a generic new car air freshener. The man behind the wheel looks to be in his late 40s, salt and pepper hair, neatly trimmed, a clean, pressed polo shirt. He looks like an accountant on his way to a golf resort. His face is a mask of polite, mild inconvenience. "Good afternoon, officer. Was I speeding?" he asks, his voice even, calm, annoyingly calm. "No, sir," Miller says, his eyes doing a quick practice sweep of the car's interior. "Just notice you drifted onto the shoulder back there. Everything all right? You feeling tired?" "Oh, my apologies. Just reaching for my water bottle. Long drive. Coming from Albuquerque, heading to Flagstaff to see my sister." The story is simple, clean. He hands over his license and registration without being asked. The name is John Smith. Of course it is. The address is in Albuquerque. The registration is current, matching the license plate. Everything is perfect. A little too perfect. Miller takes the documents back to his car, Eris lifting his head now, curious. He runs the license and plates. Everything comes back clean. No wants, no warrants. The car isn't stolen. John Smith has a single speeding ticket from 3 years ago. He is, for all intents and purposes, a ghost in the system, a perfectly law-abiding citizen. But something is nagging at Miller. It's the calmness. He's seen it all. The nervous wrecks who are completely innocent, the chatty ones trying to misdirect, the aggressive ones looking for a fight. But this level of zen is rare. It feels manufactured. As he was standing by the window, he noticed a tiny, almost imperceptible tremor in the driver's left thumb, which was resting on the steering wheel. It was the only crack in the marble facade, a tiny human glitch in an otherwise flawless performance. He could write a warning and send them on his way. 99% of troopers would. It's a clean stop, and there's no reason to hold him. But Miller trusts his gut, and his gut is telling him there's a missing piece to this puzzle. He walks back to the sedan. "All right, Mr. Smith, I'm just going to give you a written warning for the lane violation. Just a friendly reminder to stay focused. One last thing though, do you have any illegal narcotics, weapons, or large sums of currency in the vehicle?" John Smith doesn't blink. "No, officer, nothing like that." "Would you have any objection to a quick search of the vehicle?" A flicker. The polite smile remains, but for a nanosecond, something else is in his eyes. "Well, I am in a bit of a hurry to get to my sister's place. Is that really necessary?" He's not refusing, he's deflecting. It's a soft no, a test. "It'll just take a few minutes, sir," Miller says, his own voice still friendly. "I do have a drug-sniffing K9 with me. If you'd prefer, I can just walk him around the exterior of the vehicle. If he doesn't alert, you'll be on your way. Won't even have to open a door." This is the moment that pivots the entire encounter. The use of a K9 for an open-air sniff around the vehicle during a lawful traffic stop isn't considered a search under the Fourth Amendment, so it doesn't require a warrant or even probable cause. But it's a tool that can create probable cause out of thin air. The driver's smile tightens. "If you must." Miller has him step out and stand a safe distance away. He lets Eris out of the back. The dog is all business now. The shift from sleepy partner to focused tool is instantaneous. "Seek," he commands, and Eris begins his methodical pass around the sedan. He sniffs along the driver's side, past the trunk, along the passenger side. Nothing. He's about to complete the circle when he suddenly stops. He circles back to the rear passenger side wheel well, his sniffing becoming more frantic, more intense, and then he gives the alert. He sits, stares intently at a spot on the car's undercarriage, just ahead of the rear axle. It's a trained passive alert, clear as day, but it's in a bizarre spot. There's no drugs there. There's nothing there but steel, road grime, and the exhaust pipe. Miller looks from his dog to the impossibly calm man watching from the side of the highway. His expression hasn't changed at all. The K9's alert gives Trooper Miller what he needs: probable cause. The Supreme Court has repeatedly affirmed that a positive alert from a certified drug dog is sufficient grounds to search a vehicle from top to bottom. The driver, this so-called John Smith, doesn't protest. He simply watches, his hands clasped loosely behind his back, as Miller leads Eris back to the patrol car and secures him. The man's tranquility is starting to feel less like a performance and more like a profound, almost sociopathic detachment. Miller puts on a pair of latex gloves. The sun beats down on his neck as he begins the search. He starts with the interior. It's sterile. The glove compartment contains the owner's manual, the registration he's already seen, and a single sealed pack of chewing gum. The center console holds a phone charging cord and a few loose coins. He checks under the seats, in the map pockets. Nothing. The trunk is just as clean. It's completely empty except for a neatly folded emergency blanket and a pristine spare tire. There's no luggage, not even a stray grocery bag. For a man on his way to visit his sister in another state, he's traveling remarkably light. This is the point where doubt can creep in. Did Eris give a false positive? It happens. But Miller trusts his partner. Eris isn't just a tool, he's a finely tuned instrument, and his signal was strong and specific. So Miller turns his attention to the spot that triggered the alert, the passenger side rear undercarriage. He gets down on the hot asphalt, the grip pressing into his knees. The area looks factory standard. There's the usual coating of road dust and grime. He runs his gloved hand along the frame, feeling for anything out of place. A fresh weld, a patch of paint that's too new, a bolt that doesn't match the others. Nothing. He pulls a small extendable mirror and a flashlight from his duty belt. He angles the mirror up into the dark recesses of the chassis. And there it is, a thin, almost invisible seam. It's a masterful piece of work, nearly undetectable unless you know exactly what you're looking for. It's a trap, a hidden compartment, the kind used by high-level smugglers. Now for the hard part, opening it. These compartments are rarely simple. They're often wired into the car's electrical system, requiring a complex sequence of actions to unlock. It's a form of security through obscurity. Miller tries a few common methods. Headlights on, press a rear defroster. Nothing. Turn the key in the ignition to the on position, tap the brake 3 times. Still nothing. He's about to give up and call for a tow to have the car dismantled at the impound lot. But he decides to try one more thing. He remembers the driver reaching for a water bottle. A simple, natural movement. What if it was part of the sequence? He gets into the driver's seat. He turns the key, holds down the passenger side window button, and then he presses the button to open the trunk. He hears a soft hydraulic hiss from the back of the car. It's an incredibly counterintuitive combination, something no one would ever stumble upon by accident. He gets out and goes back to the undercarriage. A section of the floor pan, about 2 feet long and a foot wide, has lowered an inch, revealing a latch. He pulls it and the compartment opens with another quiet sigh of compressed air. He aims his flashlight inside, his heart pounding with the thrill of the find. He's expecting bricks of cocaine, bundles of cash, maybe even weapons. He finds air. The compartment is completely, immaculately empty. It's not just empty, it's clean, as if it's been wiped down with antiseptic. This is the first gut punch of genuine confusion. Why go to the trouble of building such a sophisticated trap only to drive it around empty? It's here that the concept of residual odor comes into play. K9s are trained to alert on the scent of narcotics, not the drugs themselves. Eris could have easily alerted on the lingering scent molecules from a previous cargo that was in the compartment hours or even days ago. A professional smuggler knows this. They usually take extreme measures to scrub their traps clean. So was this a sloppy mistake, or was the empty compartment the point? This is also where a persistent legal debate surfaces. Critics of canine idiots often point to the clever hands effect, an unconscious phenomenon where a handler can inadvertently cue their dog to alert. They argue that an officer's pre-existing suspicion can be communicated to the dog through subtle changes in posture, tone, or leash tension, making the canine's alert a self-fulfilling prophecy rather than objective evidence. While Miller is confident in Eris's independence, the thought lingers. What if his own gut feeling about the driver somehow telegraphed itself to his partner? But then he sees it. Lying in the far corner of the gleaming metal box is a small object. It's a silver locket, tarnished and delicate. He carefully picks it up. It's shaped like a butterfly, its wings etched with intricate patterns. This is an impossibly odd detail. Drug mules don't leave behind sentimental trinkets. Their world is one of burner phones and cash, of disposable tools and anonymity. A personal item like this is a liability, a loose thread. He presses the tiny clasp and the locket springs open. There's no picture inside. The 2 tiny frames are empty. It's just a locket, a hollow butterfly. He closes the compartment, the hydraulic system sealing it shut with a hiss. He stands up, brushing the dust from his trousers, the locket heavy in his gloved palm. He walks over to John Smith, who has been watching the entire process with the same unnerving patience. Miller holds up the locket. "Can you explain what was doing in a hidden compartment in your car?" For the first time, the man's composure cracks. It's not a big break, just a hairline fracture. His eyes widen, not with the feigned surprise of a guilty man caught, but with what looks like genuine shock, maybe even fear. The color drains slightly from his face. He looks at the locket, then at Miller, and his mask of calm is back in place. But it's been reset. The glitch was real. I have no idea what that is. I've never seen it before in my life. He's lying. But Miller realizes he's not lying about the compartment or the smuggling. He's lying about the locket. That's what truly scared him. Miller now knows this is no longer just a potential drug bust. An empty compartment is a puzzle. An empty compartment with a cryptic, fear-inducing clue inside, that's the start of something else entirely. He pulls out his handcuffs. John Smith, you're under arrest.
Back at the state police barracks, the atmosphere shifts from the dry heat of the highway to the sterile, air-conditioned hum of bureaucracy. John Smith is in an interrogation room, a cinderblock box, painted a depressing shade of beige. He's invoked his right to remain silent, which he did calmly and politely, as if ordering a coffee. No outbursts, no demands. He just sat there and said, "I believe I'd like to wait for a lawyer," and then fell silent. This is another red flag. Most criminals, even hardened ones, either talk too much or put on a show of indignant rage. This guy's quiet is a void. It's like he's running a different operating system. While Smith is enjoying the quiet, Miller's in the squad room, where the mystery of the charcoal gray sedan is beginning to deepen and darken. The car's now in the station's secure garage, and the real work has begun. The first order of business is confirming the vehicle's identity. Miller had run the license plate and the dashboard VIN, vehicle identification number, on the side of the road, and both came back clean. But the existence of that sophisticated trap compartment screams that this is no ordinary car. A forensics mechanic starts a more thorough examination. He knows that professional criminal organizations don't just use hidden compartments. They often use cloned cars. This is where a major federal crime comes into the picture. Title 18, Section 511 of the U.S. Code, which makes it a felony to knowingly remove, obliterate, tamper with, or alter a vehicle's VIN. A cloned car is a stolen vehicle that has been given the identity of a legally registered, non-stolen vehicle of the same make, model, and year. Thieves find the legitimate car on the road or in a parking lot, copy its VIN, and then create forged VIN plates and registration documents. They attach these to their stolen car, effectively creating a twin. When a cop runs the plates or the dash VIN, it comes back clean, because as far as the system knows, it's checking the legitimate car. The mechanic scrapes away some paint on the car's firewall, revealing a secondary stamped VIN. He checks a third location, a confidential VIN etched on the chassis itself, a spot known only to law enforcement and manufacturers. They don't match. The dashboard VIN, the one Miller checked, is a fake. It's a high-quality forgery, but a forgery nonetheless. The true VIN, the one stamped into the car's frame, comes back as a vehicle stolen 6 months ago from a dealership lot in San Diego. The charcoal gray sedan is a ghost. It's wearing the identity of a perfectly legal car that is probably, at this very moment, parked in some unsuspecting person's driveway in Phoenix. This is a game changer. A routine traffic stop for a lane violation has just escalated to felony possession of a stolen vehicle and federal VIN tampering charges. The puzzle of the driver deepens in parallel. They run his fingerprints through the Automated Fingerprint Identification System, or AFIS. The system kicks back a result, but it's not what they expect. The prints match a man named Robert Paulson, who was arrested for petty theft in Oregon a decade ago. But here's the twist. Robert Paulson's file also includes a death certificate. He officially died in a car accident 7 years ago. So the man sitting in their interrogation room is either a ghost or he's using a dead man's identity. He's a phantom driving a phantom car. This is a common tactic for those trying to disappear, a practice morbidly known as ghosting. They acquire the identity of a deceased person, often with a similar age and appearance, and build a new life on that foundation of forged documents. The pieces are starting to form a picture, but it's an abstract one. The driver isn't just a simple drug mule. Mules are typically low-level, expendable players. They don't get assigned cloned cars and meticulously crafted false identities that can withstand initial scrutiny. This guy's a professional, someone trusted with a valuable asset, the car itself. But this raises the central question: why was the compartment empty? Experts in criminal logistics still argue about the purpose of dry runs. Some believe they're a crucial part of testing a new route, a new vehicle, or a new driver. You send them through empty to see if they get stopped, to identify any weaknesses in the system before you risk a multi-million-dollar shipment. Others in law enforcement believe dry runs are myth, inefficient waste of resources. They argue that every trip has a purpose, and if a compartment is empty, it means the cargo was either successfully delivered just before the stop, or the driver was on his way to a pickup. But the butterfly locket doesn't fit either theory. It's too specific, too personal. It feels less like a tool of the trade and more like a message. Miller takes it out of the evidence bag and looks at it again under the harsh fluorescent lights of the squad room. The intricate design seems to mock him. He notices something he missed before. On the back, almost invisible to the naked eye, is a tiny laser-etched barcode. It's not a standard UPC code. It's a QR code, one of those square pixelated codes you scan with your phone. It's no bigger than a grain of rice. This is an incredible, odd detail. Smugglers use burner phones, not scannable technology that can be traced. This isn't just a clue, it's an invitation. A digital breadcrumb left inside a hollow butterfly, found in an empty trap in a ghost car driven by a dead man. The local state police barracks, designed to handle DUIs and speeders, is suddenly out of its depth. The presence of a cloned car and a sophisticated false identity is enough to trigger a federal alert. When Miller files his report, highlighting the cloned VIN and the dead man's identity, a flag goes up on a system monitored by the FBI. A routine traffic stop on a sun-bleached highway is about to become a federal case, and the FBI, Miller soon learns, has seen a butterfly like this before.
The arrival of the FBI changes the energy in the state police barracks. It's a subtle shift, like a drop in barometric pressure before a storm. Two agents from the Albuquerque field office arrive, their suits looking out of place against the troopers' khaki uniforms. They don't barge in. Their authority is quiet, assumed. They introduce themselves as Agent Reed and Agent Sterling. Reed is the talker, sharp and focused, while Sterling is a silent observer, his eyes missing nothing. They review Miller's report, their faces unreadable, but when Miller places the small silver butterfly locket on the table, still sealed in its evidence bag, a flicker of recognition passes between them. Reed picks up the bag, examining the tiny QR code on the back with a pocket magnifier. "Where's the driver?" he asks, his voice low. "In interrogation. Hasn't said a word since he lawyered up," Miller replies. Reed nods, a slight smile on his lips. He won't. He looks at Sterling, then back at Miller. "Trooper, your traffic stop just intersected with an ongoing federal investigation. We're taking lead on this now." The FBI's jurisdiction is triggered by the interstate transport of a stolen vehicle and the federal VIN tampering. But it's clear their interest is in something much bigger. The locket is the key. Agent Reed explains that this isn't the first time they've seen this specific calling card. The butterfly is the signature of a highly sophisticated transnational smuggling organization they've been tracking for over 2 years, an organization they've internally nicknamed the Lepidopterists. It's a bit of dark bureaucratic humor. This group doesn't leave fingerprints or shell casings, they leave butterflies. The calling card has appeared in 3 other seemingly unrelated cases across the country. One found in a shipping container in Miami, another in a private jet seized in Seattle, and a third in the hotel room of a diplomat who vanished from Washington, D.C. In every case, the container or vehicle involved had a masterfully hidden compartment, and in every case, the compartment was found empty. This is the first major twist for Miller. He thought he'd caught a smuggler on a dry run. The FBI reveals a far more unsettling possibility. The empty compartment is the entire point. The act of getting a ghost vehicle from point A to point B undetected is the service being rendered. The organization proves its capability by successfully navigating the security apparatus and leaving behind proof of their passage, the butterfly. They're not just smuggling goods, they're selling untraceability. They're selling ghosts. This theory reframes the entire operation. The driver, Robert Paulson, wasn't a mule. He was an auditor, a quality control specialist, demonstrating the efficacy of his organization's product. The agents bring in their own tech expert to analyze the locket's QR code. It's not a simple link to a website. The code is heavily encrypted. As the tech works, Reed and Sterling begin to dissect the driver's MO. The choice of a cloned car, the use of a dead man's identity, the driver's zen-like calm, it's all part of the signature. This organization's operatives are trained to a standard that rivals intelligence agencies. They're taught to control their heart rate, to give perfect, simple answers, and to immediately invoke their rights when pressed. The debate over whether such training can truly beat a polygraph test is a hot topic in law enforcement and legal circles. While polygraphs are not generally admissible in court, they are a powerful interrogation tool. But a subject trained in countermeasures, controlling their breathing, clenching unseen muscles to spike their physiological response at baseline questions, can render the results meaningless. The FBI believes this organization trains its operatives in exactly these techniques. Hours later, the tech expert cracks the first layer of encryption on the QR code. It doesn't reveal a location or a name. It resolves into a single, high-resolution photograph. The photo is of a different butterfly, not a locket, but a real one, a vibrant blue morpho butterfly, perched on a single red flower. The image is stunningly beautiful, but it offers no obvious clues. It's another layer of cryptic messaging. This is an odd, almost theatrical detail that baffles everyone. Why would a ruthless criminal enterprise communicate in poetic imagery? Agent Sterling, the quiet one, finally speaks. It's not just a calling card, he says, looking at the image on the screen. It's a receipt. It confirms a successful delivery. He theorizes that each client is given a unique butterfly image. When the operation is complete, the untraceable card delivered, the untraceable person transported, the operative leaves behind the physical locket, and the QR code provides the client with a picture of their specific butterfly, confirming the job is done. It's an elegant, untraceable, and completely deniable system of communication. The final piece of the puzzle for the day comes from a deeper dive into the fake identity of Robert Paulson. The FBI pulls the original accident report for his death 7 years ago. It was a single-car accident on a mountain road in rural Colorado. He was burned beyond recognition, and identification was made through dental records. It was a closed case. But on a hunch, Agent Reed requests the file be pulled from the local archives. He's looking for one specific thing, an oddity, a loose thread. And he finds it. The inventory of personal effects recovered from the crash scene was minimal, but there was one item logged as partially melted metal jewelry. The description was vague, but there was a photo. Even distorted by the heat of the fire, the shape was unmistakable. It was a butterfly. This is the second stunning twist. The organization didn't just give their operative a dead man's identity, they may have created the dead man in the first place. The real Robert Paulson might have been killed to provide a clean, verifiable identity for their ghost. The car crash was not an accident, it was an investment. With this chilling realization, the investigation pivots once more. They're not just hunting smugglers anymore, they're hunting killers who operate with the patience and precision of spiders, spinning webs of deception that span years. And the key to unraveling that web now lies in decoding the origin of the ghost car and the meaning of a blue butterfly on a red flower.
The focus of the investigation now shifts from the phantom driver to the phantom car. The driver, secure behind his shield of silence, is a dead end. But the car, the meticulously cloned sedan, has a history. It's a physical object that was stolen, transported, and modified. It has a story to tell. Agent Sterling takes charge of this part of the investigation. His specialty is logistics, the unglamorous but critical work of tracing how things move from one place to another. He starts with the stolen vehicle report from San Diego. The original car was lifted from a dealership's backlot, a place with minimal security. It's a common source for professional car thieves, but stealing the car is the easy part. The hard part is turning it into a ghost. The process requires a high degree of technical skill and a specialized facility. You need to create a forged VIN play that can pass a cursory inspection, program new key fobs, and in this case, install a hidden compartment that is a marvel of engineering. This isn't work you do in your home garage. Sterling hones in on the barcode, the tiny QR code on the back of the butterfly locket. While the primary encrypted layer revealed the butterfly photo, the FBI's crypt analysts have been working on the deeper, underlying metadata of the image file itself. Buried within the pixels of the blue butterfly is a faint, almost transparent watermark. It's not a word or a symbol, but a string of alphanumeric characters. It's meaningless on its own, but Sterling recognizes the format. It's an inventory tracking number, the kind used in industrial supply chains. This is a crucial break. The butterfly locket, the calling card, wasn't just a message, it was a piece of inventory. Somebody somewhere manufactured it and logged it. The agents run the tracking number through every database they can access, commercial, government, and a few less than public ones. They get a hit. The number corresponds to a batch of custom-ordered silver pendants from a jewelry manufacturer in Providence, Rhode Island. The order was placed 2 years ago by a holding company. When they traced the ownership of the holding company, they hit a wall of shell corporations designed to obscure the true owner. It's a classic money laundering setup. However, the manufacturing file for the locket contains another clue. Attached to the design spec sheet is a secondary order for the laser etching machine used to engrave the tiny QR codes. The machine was shipped not to the holding company in Rhode Island, but to a different address, an auto body shop in a drab industrial park just outside of Phoenix, Arizona. The shop is called Precision Auto Crafters. The name itself is ironic, almost taunting detail. The shop has a clean, if unremarkable, business record. It services a handful of commercial fleets and does standard collision repair. On paper, it's completely legitimate. But Phoenix is a known hub for vehicle smuggling into Mexico, and the shipping address for a high-tech laser etcher is too much of a coincidence to ignore. The FBI sets up surveillance. For 3 days, they watch. The activity at Precision Auto Crafters is completely normal. Tow trucks come and go. Workers fix dented fenders and replace bumpers. There is no sign of criminal activity. But the agents notice something odd. Every evening, after the last of the day shift workers go home, a separate, smaller crew arrives. They don't use the main bays. They enter through a side door and disappear into a part of the building that has no windows. This is the justification they need for a warrant. The raid is planned for midnight on the 4th day. Under the cover of darkness, tactical teams surround the building. They use a thermal imager, which reveals a significant heat signature coming from the windowless section of the shop, far more than a simple office should generate. They breach the side door. Inside, they don't find the typical auto shop. The front of the building is a perfect facade, a fully functional but completely separate business. Behind the reinforced, soundproofed wall is a facility that looks like it belongs in a spy movie. It's a high-tech factory for creating ghost cars. There are half a dozen vehicles in various stages of modification. One is being fitted with a hidden compartment identical to the one in Miller's sedan. Another is on a list, its original VIN plates carefully removed. On a workbench, a technician is using a sophisticated computer rig to program a new key, cloning its electronic signature. In the corner sits the laser etching machine from Rhode Island, a box of blank butterfly lockets on the table next to it. They have found the factory. This raid is a significant real-world event mirroring many operations where federal agents bust sophisticated criminal enterprises hidden behind legitimate business fronts. The legal principle at play here is the plain view doctrine, which allows officers to seize evidence of a crime without a warrant if the object is in plain sight from a lawful vantage point. Once the agents were legally inside the shop with the warrant, everything related to the creation of cloned cars, the VIN plates, the tools, the cars themselves, was in plain sight and could be seized. But as they process the scene, they uncover an even more bizarre detail. In a small, climate-controlled room at the back of the facility, they find not car parts, but a terrarium.
Inside, fluttering among exotic plants, are dozens of live blue morphle butterflies. And perched on a stand in the center of the room is a camera on a tripod aimed at a single perfect red flower. They weren't just using a picture of a butterfly as a receipt. They were raising the actual butterflies and photographing them in-house. It's a level of theatricality and obsession that is deeply unsettling. There's still a lingering debate among criminal profilers about such signature behaviors. Is it a form of narcissistic branding, a way for the organization's leader to claim their work? Or is it a psychological tactic designed to confuse and intimidate investigators by making the crimes seem more random and esoteric than they really are? Whatever the reason, the FBI now has the manufacturing hub. They have the tools, the cars, and the butterflies. They've arrested the night shift crew of skilled technicians. But the technicians are just that, highly paid mechanics, not the masterminds. They don't know who they work for, they get their orders via encrypted messages and are paid in cryptocurrency. The head of the snake is still hidden, but in the shop's main office, taped to the bottom of a desk drawer, they find one more clue. A list of recently completed vehicles, listed by their true VINs. And next to each VIN is a single cryptic word. Next to the VIN of the charcoal sedan Miller stopped, the word is Genesis.
The discovery of the word Genesis next to the sedan's true VIN sends a ripple of confusion through the investigation. It's not a name, a location, or any recognizable code. It sounds like something plucked from science fiction. Back in the Albuquerque field office, Agent Reed and Agent Sterling stare at the word on a whiteboard, surrounded by diagrams of the smuggling operation. They have the factory, the mechanics, and the driver. They understand the how, the cloned cars, the hidden traps, the butterfly calling cards, but they still don't understand the what or the why. What is this elaborate, high-tech ghosting service actually moving? The initial assumption was drugs or weapons, the usual contraband of the criminal underworld. But the evidence doesn't quite fit. The level of sophistication, the extreme operational security, the theatrical signatures, it feels too elaborate for smuggling cocaine. You don't need to raise live butterflies to move a kilo of heroin. This is where the third major twist in the case begins to unfold. Agent Sterling, the logistics expert, flags the word Genesis. He's seen something like it before, not in a criminal file, but in a financial crimes report he read months ago. He dives into the FBI's financial intelligence database. He searches for Genesis, and he gets a hit. Genesis is not a person or a place. It's the internal project name for a revolutionary piece of technology being developed by a Silicon Valley tech giant called Etheria. Etheria is a leader in genetic engineering and biotechnology. Their public-facing work is in things like drought-resistant crops and advanced biofuels. But secretly, under the project name Genesis, they have been developing a proprietary DNA sequencing processor. It's a chip that can map a full human genome in under an hour, a process that used to take days or weeks. This technology has world-changing implications, not just for medicine, but for data storage, biometrics, and even biological warfare. It's one of the most valuable and closely guarded trade secrets in the world. Suddenly, the whole picture shifts into terrifying focus. The lepidopterans aren't smuggling drugs. They're involved in high-stakes industrial espionage. They're not moving products, they're moving people. The empty compartment wasn't for cargo, it was for a person. The organization was hired to exfiltrate a scientist or engineer from Etheria, someone with intimate knowledge of the Genesis project. The untraceable ghost car driven by a ghost driver was their ride. The butterfly locket left behind wasn't just a receipt for the client, it was a taunt to Etheria, a silent announcement that their security had been breached and their most valuable asset was gone. This is a crime that lives in a gray area where national security and corporate interests blur. The theft of a trade secret of this magnitude is a federal crime under the Economic Espionage Act of 1996, a law designed to protect American innovation from foreign competitors and rogue corporations. This new theory explains so many of the odd details. It explains the extreme secrecy and professionalism. The clients for this kind of service wouldn't be drug cartels, but rival corporations or foreign intelligence agencies, clients who would pay a fortune for flawless execution and absolute discretion. It also explains the driver's unnerving calm. He wasn't a mule fearing a long prison sentence for drugs. He was a highly trained operative on a mission, likely with an extraction plan of his own. He knew that even if he were caught, the nature of his real mission would be nearly impossible to prove. The FBI immediately contacts Etherea's corporate security. At first, the company is stonewalling, reluctant to admit to such a catastrophic security failure. But under pressure from the feds, they conduct an internal audit. They discover that a lead geneticist, a brilliant but disgruntled scientist named Dr. Eris Thorne, vanished a week ago. He didn't show up for work, his apartment was empty, and his digital footprint had gone cold. He had left a resignation letter citing personal reasons, but the timing is too coincidental. Dr. Thorne was only one of 5 people with complete access to the Genesis project. The investigation now has a victim, or a willing participant. It's hard to say which is which. Dr. Thorne has been successfully smuggled out of the country, likely delivered to whoever paid for the service. The case has ballooned from a traffic stop into an international incident of industrial espionage. And the legal debate that emerges from this case is a fascinating one. Who is the primary criminal? Is it the smuggling organization that provides the taxi service, or is it the client who ordered the exfiltration? In cases of industrial espionage, prosecutors often face the challenge of proving intent and linking the client to the act, especially when the client is a foreign entity shielded by its own government. The lepidopterists are a service provider, a criminal version of FedEx. Cutting off the service is one thing, but bringing the customer to justice is another battle entirely. While the feds are untangling this web of corporate and international intrigue, Trooper Miller gets a call. It's Agent Reed. He tells Miller what the investigation has uncovered. Miller thinks about the driver, Robert Paulson, sitting silently in a cell. He thinks about the empty compartment. It was designed for a human being. The thought sends a chill down his spine. Reed also tells him that they figured out the meaning of the blue butterfly on the red flower. Dr. Thorne's research specialty at Etherea was a rare genetic mutation found in the blue morpho butterfly, a mutation that allows it to produce its iridescent blue color. The red flower in the photo was a specific hybrid orchid that Thorne himself had engineered in his home greenhouse as a hobby. The photograph wasn't just a generic receipt, it was a personalized message, a final, oddly beautiful calling card. It was the organization showing off, proving that they not only took the scientist, but also understood the intricate details of his work. It's the ultimate, oddly beautiful calling card.
The case has now reached its highest levels. The FBI knows who the lepidopterists are, what they do, and who their most recent cargo was. But the mastermind, the client who hired them to steal Dr. Thorne, and the location of Thorne himself all remain in the shadows. The break comes not from a high-tech lab or a satellite trace, but from the most low-tech element of the entire investigation, the captured driver, the man calling himself Robert Paulson. After weeks of complete silence in a federal holding facility, his lawyer makes an offer. His client is willing to talk. Not about the organization, not about its methods, but he will give them the client. In exchange, he wants a deal, a new identity, courtesy of the U.S. Marshals, and placement in the Witness Protection Program. This is an unusual request. The driver isn't a typical informant trying to shave years off a sentence. He's asking to trade one ghost identity for another, a federally sanctioned one. Agent Reed recognizes this as an act of self-preservation. The driver knows his former employers will stop at nothing to silence him. The lepidopterists are meticulous, and that includes cleaning up loose ends. His capture makes him a liability. The negotiation is delicate. Legally, a plea bargain is a contract between a defendant and a prosecutor, and a deal for information is a common component. But a deal of this nature, with an operative from such a secretive organization, is fraught with risk. Is his information reliable? Is it a trap? The FBI agrees to the terms. The driver, whose true name they learn is Leo, finally talks. And the name he gives them as the client is not a rival corporation or a foreign government. It's a name that makes Agent Reed's blood run cold. Julian Croft. Julian Croft is an American tech billionaire, a philanthropist, a public figure known for his eccentric genius and his utopian vision for the future. He is the founder and CEO of Etheria. This is the final, jaw-dropping twist of the entire case. The client who hired the smuggling ring to steal Etheria's top scientist was the head of Etheria itself. Leo explains the scheme. Croft didn't want to sell the Genesis technology, he wanted to control it absolutely. Dr. Thorne, the lead scientist, was getting nervous about the potential military applications of the technology and was planning to blow the whistle, to leak the project's details to the press. Croft couldn't afford to fire him or discredit him. Thorne had too much proof. So Croft decided to make him disappear. He hired the lepidopterists not to exfiltrate Thorne to a competitor, but to abduct him. The elaborate smuggling operation was a brilliant piece of misdirection. It was designed to look exactly like industrial espionage, sending the FBI on a wild goose chase looking for foreign buyers and corporate rivals. While the authorities were looking outward, Croft had Dr. Thorne hidden away in a private, off-the-grid facility where he was being forced to continue his work under Croft's direct and solitary control. The butterfly calling card was Croft's own narcissistic touch, a piece of theater to sell the lie. Armed with this testimony, the FBI moves on Julian Croft. They raid his secluded, sprawling estate in Northern California. It's less a house and more a private fortress. And in a subterranean laboratory, buried beneath a guest house, they find Dr. Eris Thorne. He is shaken but unharmed. They also find evidence linking Croft directly to payments made to the shell companies that funded the ghost car factory and the lepidopterists. The public narrative of the brilliant philanthropic billionaire shatters. Behind the mask was a ruthless monopolist willing to kidnap, threaten, and conspire with a major criminal organization to protect his empire. The legal case is complex. Julian Croft is charged with kidnapping, conspiracy, and violations of the Economic Espionage Act, ironically, using the law to prosecute the very person it was designed to protect. His defense attorneys still argue a highly controversial theory, that a CEO cannot steal a trade secret from his own company. They claim Croft's actions, while unorthodox, were a form of internal security measure to protect his intellectual property from a rogue employee. It's a legal argument that tests the very definition of ownership and corporate crime. The whole sprawling, bizarre case, which stretched from Silicon Valley to a lonely New Mexico highway, all started with one thing: a K9's alert on an empty piece of metal. It's a detail that doesn't get lost on the FBI. 2 months after the raid on Croft's estate, Trooper David Miller receives a package at the state police barracks. There are no official commendations or press releases. The case is too sensitive for public fanfare. Inside the package is a simple plaque from the FBI's Albuquerque field office. It reads, "To K9 Eris, for a good nose." Tucked in the box with the plaque is another stranger item, a gift certificate for a year's supply of premium steak. It's a quiet, unofficial thank you, a nod to the four-legged officer who smelled a ghost and unraveled a conspiracy so strange and twisted that it was almost unbelievable. Miller looks at the plaque, then at Eris, who is napping in the sun by the window. He just smiles and shakes his head. The world of high-tech espionage and billionaire kidnappers is a million miles away from his reality of traffic stops and the desert heat. But for one afternoon, those two worlds collided, all because a good dog trusted his instincts. And so, the quiet hum of the highway returned. The ghost car was cataloged as evidence in a case that would remain largely sealed from public view, and the web of Julian Croft's ambition was untangled in silent federal courtrooms. It's a profound reminder that the most intricate conspiracies, the ones built with layers of technology and deception, can be undone by the simplest of things: a glance, a tremor in a thumb, or the unblinking stare of a dog who senses something is out of place. The truth often lies just beneath the surface, waiting for the right kind of pressure to bring it into the light. These stories serve as a map of those hidden connections, showing us that the world is often more complex and stranger than we can ever imagine from the comfort of our own homes. Thank you for joining me on this journey tonight. Your presence here, lending your time and attention, is what makes this community so special. If you found yourself captivated by the twists and turns of this case, a like and share go a long way in helping others find our corner of the internet. Feel free to leave a comment with your thoughts on the case. I read as many as I can. Until we meet again for our next story, I hope your nights are peaceful and your own routines remain wonderfully, blissfully uneventful.